Hey guys, Mario again, coming at you another review. Today's review is a sci-fi thriller mockumentary film that was released a couple years ago, 2009. Now, it was on Netflix Instant, so I decided to give it a full watch because I'd seen it partially once before. I was flipping through channels one night, I came across the movie, I'm like, I'll give it a watch. It was like at the middle of the second act or something. So I saw the ending and I thought, okay, the idea looks interesting, but this is nothing like how the trailers made the movie out to be, or at least I remember them. So I said, it's a movie I'll try to watch one day in its entirety. So I saw it on Netflix. I was a little bit bored this afternoon, flipping through the QA, decide what to watch. I'm like, I'll give this one a watch, it's not that long. And of course, as you can tell, the title of the movie is The Fourth Kind, which of course is derived from J. Allen Hynek's classification of close encounters with aliens, which the fourth one being abductions. Now, the film stars Milla Jovovich, Charlotte Milchard, Elias Koteas, excuse me, which I'm actually kind of surprised to see him in here, but I knew the guy was, I'm actually kind of surprised to see him in here, but I'm glad to see he got work. Patton and Corey Johnson, among others. Now, the movie was directed by, I'm going to have trouble with this name, Olatunde Osunsanmi, if I got the name correctly. I will say, for a first, I don't know if this is his first film or not, but I'll say he does show some promise as a director, but he could have probably, if he had had more experience directing the movie, probably would have been done better, but this guy does show promise, so maybe if he gets work in a different type of film genre, he might do better, but I'm going to guess that part of the problem was how the story was written in the script, because once the phone stops ringing, that better not be aliens. E.T. call someone else. Anyway. Now, how the film is told, before I get to the synopsis of the plot, it's told in a weird way. I mean, first of all, at the beginning, they even blatantly give away that when we see Milla Jovovich and other people that we're familiar with, that they're reenacting scenes and that the rest of the footage is quote-unquote real, going through that whole kind of like mixing up a found footage genre with the mockumentary genre or something. And that's one thing, because that kind of takes away the whole suspense a little bit. And right off the bat, you can tell the film is going to be a little weird, because I'll say, what they do with putting footage that the film admits is shot with footage that the film tries to pass off as being real footage is an interesting experiment and an interesting idea. It just, for this type of film, just didn't work properly. I feel that for this film, they should have either went the mockumentary found footage route, showing interviews with people like the ones that we see in the final film, footage of the real events, like the footage of when one guy shoots himself, and the police camera footage, and then have some interviews with some of the other characters, and for the ones that refuse to talk, like maybe trying to get them to get an interview and like, get that camera out of my face, stuff like that. Or they should have went the route that I thought the film was going to be when I first heard about it, just a normal movie, just with this type of plot. Because the movie, the way it is executed, it's trying to have its cake and eat it too, which that's why it comes off, I wouldn't say amateurish, but it comes off kind of like a film school project. And the movie had a budget of $10 million. In today's money, I guess you could say that's probably what it would be considered in the big scope of Hollywood budget things. But for $10 million, you could have done better than this, I guess. But that's just me thinking. Now, the plot is that it takes place in 2000, and our main character is Dr. Abigail Tyler, played by Milla Jovovich in the shot footage, and Charlotte Milchard in the real footage. Now, the story is about her close encounter incident that happened in Nome, Alaska. Now, it starts, a few months before the story starts, Tyler's husband... What? Yay. I know, okay. Anyway, a few months before the story starts, her husband, Will, was murdered one night in his sleep, leaving her to raise their two children, Ashley and Ronnie, by herself. Now, at the same time, Tyler is having hypnotherapy sessions with 3 different patients, all of whom apparently have the same experience. Every night they see a white owl staring in at them from their window. And of course, people, like in a lot of things, you don't believe in coincidences, and it never mentions if these people know each other closely or not, or just know of each other. But probably in Nome, they probably at least know of each other, or know each other's names, probably at least from the schools or something. So you could tell that at first she's probably going to think, are they talking to each other or something? But then as it goes on, she's going to see, okay, I don't believe in coincidences. Now, she puts 2 of the 3 patients under hypnosis, and while under, both patients recount similar terrifying stories of creatures attempting to enter their homes. Now, this is where we begin to suspect, is this going to be about aliens? Because if you didn't know what the title was, you're probably going to wonder what it's going to be about. Now, one thing I will say is that we never actually see aliens in the film, which is kind of creative, the Jaws approach, less you see the better. We see owls and stuff, and we see shapes and stuff, and we hear voices, but we never actually see aliens, which I thought was interesting. Now, eventually, Abigail decides to go talk with her own doctor, who apparently she's seeing because of what happened to her husband. And this is Elias Koteas' character, Abigail Campos, who is a psychologist from Anchorage, Abigail's colleague and also her own doctor. And she's put under hypnosis, trying to figure out the whole thing about her husband. And of course, she goes to him when she needs help involving her patients. And of course, some things happen with a couple of her patients, so I'm not going to spoil. And of course, it gets the sheriff worried about it. Sheriff August, played by Will Patton, and I'll just say he's kind of an a-hole in the movie, but with the stuff that's happening and him being a skeptic and the stuff that happens throughout the film, you can understand why he would be. It's like, you tell me it's aliens? Bullshit. So you kind of expect it, though near the end of the movie, at one point you do want to smack him, but by the end of the movie you sort of do, but only half-heartedly, at least I thought. And one thing I noticed as I was watching the movie more, they do kind of work the whole ancient alien thing into the movie somewhat, because this is after one of the sessions and they hear the patient speaking a weird language. Abigail and Abel go to see this one doctor named Dr. Osunsanmi, played by Kae-Kazim, who is a specialist in ancient languages, and he was also a friend of Abigail's late husband, and they identified the language as Sumerian, which apparently is one of the oldest languages in human history. And of course he brings up the whole ancient alien theory by talking about these sculpture things that were in Sumeria. And of course they kind of do connect it with it in there, and I thought that was an interesting thing. And also, when the last part of the movie was coming up, part of my brain thought of the movie The Island. Now, but you're saying that movie doesn't even involve aliens. Why would you think of that? It's the way that some of the wording is that the aliens say, or aliens, because the movie does kind of give a little hint, does kind of make a little hint that maybe she did something and doesn't remember it, and maybe has an alternate personality, but I view it that aliens actually did it. That's just me, someone else might not. But anyway. How they were, the reason I thought of it was because of the wording. It made me think of, okay, according to one of the ancient alien theories, aliens created us, but then they would be, why would they create us? And then as the whole thing about it, I'm like, maybe it's for a similar reason why they did clones in The Island, spare parts, maybe a child or something, maybe a reason similar to that, or maybe even the race is too far gone, they're making a slave race or something, like a slave race or something. There's a lot of different theories you could think of. Something involving that they would need a place in order to grow a workforce or something, and Earth seems like it would be a good planet too. Perfect place for life. And look how many people, there's billions of people in the human race, so enough people for them to harvest, so it would work. I guess that would explain it, but the funny thing about that is hardly any people that claim to be abducted disappear. Then again, in Nome, it's a semi-remote place. I mean, Alaska, the most remote of the states, so you could probably abduct people there over a slow period of time and no one would probably notice. And as the movie claims, people have disappeared in Nome, which apparently is the only truth to the movie, because there was a real string of disappearances in Nome. It doesn't say when, but apparently the FBI was brought in to investigate in 2005. and they looked into about 20 cases, and apparently they said alcohol and the temperature were the causes, but apparently 9 bodies were never found, so a little bit of truth to it, at least that thing. But I guess you could, that's just what I thought, the alien's probably doing something like that, harvest time, and maybe that's why the girl disappears. I'm not going to spoil anything, but thought it was interesting. But like I said earlier in this review, they should have just stuck with either the mockumentary or just gone on with it being a regular movie. The movie would have been a lot more coherent, probably told a lot better, and it would have been a lot easier to watch. Because the movie was easy to watch, I will say. It's just that it's how they do some of the stuff does it kind of take you out of the movie. Like one scene, it shows like 4 different little angle things. Like a couple scenes actually do that, but it just kind of took me out a little bit to see that. Like the only scene that I really thought it was interesting was when the one patient goes berserk with the gun, which I thought that was interesting, but I still think it would have been better if to show it one way or another. Like if you want to do different angles like that, do a normal movie and then like switch to like cop footage or something to show them shows the shots so you don't get a higher rating. Because I don't even know what this movie is rated. I'm guessing PG-13 or a R. I'm leaning more towards PG-13, but. Anyway, other than that, I could say the acting was at least pretty good. Nothing Oscar caliber, but it was good. Milla Jovovich, I'll say I liked her better as Abigail than I liked her in any of the Resident Evil movies, except probably the first one. Charlotte Milchard, I thought she did a decent job as the real Dr. Abigail. Elias Koteas is happy to see Casey Jones in another role. Other than this, the only other recent thing I could think of that he was in was, I know he was in an episode of House where he's the guy that shot House, which is kind of funny. Hey, House, 2 points for high sticking. But I didn't realize it was Elias Koteas until I checked the film, until I just checked the cast, because I'm like, why does this guy look familiar? Because the guy who I thought he looked like at first was the guy who used to be in Law and Order Special Victims Unit, the guy that played Elliot Stabler. They kind of look alike. And then looking up this it says Elias Koteas. Oh yeah, I could see it. And it's good to see him get work. Will Patton as a sheriff, good job. Made you really hate the character at times. Corey Johnson as character of Tommy, good job. All the cast did a great job, and like I said, the main problem was just how the story was written, I guess, and also how they decided to put the thing together. But other than that, I thought the story idea, I would say, that was the most interesting thing, and I guess that's why I stayed invested despite how the film was constructed. Because for me, even if you don't like how a film was constructed, if you're interested in the story, that can still save the film to an extent. I'll say the film is not really rewatchable, like maybe every once in a blue moon, or like I'm doing an Alien-a-thon of watching alien-related movies. Would I get it in my collection? Probably not. I think I have it taped somewhere in a VHS, so if I do, that's probably how I'll rewatch it, or if it's still on Netflix Instant for a long time, maybe that way. But oh yeah, the score was decent at most, I would say. Nothing that I really remember, but like I said, the director did show some creativity because I thought there were some creative shots. But other than that, nothing to really run home about in this movie. It made almost $50 million, which I think it probably was because of the people in it. You know, especially Milla Jovovich. That's why I got that money back. Well, I recommend it. I'd say only for curiosity's sake, like if you like alien movies, or you are a fan of Milla Jovovich or Elias Koteas or any of the other actors in the movie. That's the only reason I'd say. Or you're going to do an alien-related marathon, but other than that, I'd say that. And it has a 5.8 on IMDb, which I think that's a little bit too high. I think it should be like a 5 even at most. I agree more with the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's a 19% with the critics and a 43% with the audience. And it says, while it boasts a handful of shocks, the fourth kind is hokey and clumsy and makes its close encounters seem eerily mundane. See, I sort of agree with that, but I just think some of the stuff could have been executed better. Probably my rating for the fourth kind, just based on the things I liked about it, 3 out of 5 stars.